just take a deep breath. And if it's comfortable, close your eyes. A slow exhalation. And just let yourselves relax for just a moment. Feel the tension drift out of your shoulders, out of your jaw. In spite of the appearances in the world today, in spite of any disagreement that appears in the world, we can pause. And in this moment, we bring our attention inward to that still, peaceful place of spirit. The ocean in which we dwell is the spirit and the substance of God, the one mind, the energy of life and of love, of wisdom and of will. And as we turn within, and we settle into this peaceful place, we awaken our zeal, our purposeful, passionate, and positive energy to go forth and be the presence of love. And so we pause here for just a moment. Right here and right now to rest in the oneness, in the stillness and in the silence, to be at peace. There is no love but the one love. There is no love but the one love. With conscious attention and intention, we can bring forth the peace of spirit, the love of spirit, the wisdom of the one in our lives by pausing. Any time that we feel like we are being pulled away from the center of our being, a simple breath and a pause, we can relax into the place of spirit and be the one love. With purpose, with passion, showing up as a positive force. And so as you're ready, I invite you to bring your awareness back into the space and the time, this place where you currently are in Playground Planet Earth. But come forth and bring that center of peace. Because peace begins with us. Peace begins with me. And so we come forth knowing that everything we seek, we already are. There is nothing missing. we claim, yes, God, I will to be the change I wish to see. And as you're prepared, bring your awareness back and open your eyes. There is no love but the one love, pure love, and the ocean of being in which we dwell. And so it is, and so we let it be. Great.
It's not letting me share.
There's a song about, you don't know what you've got till it's gone, or something like that. Isn't that the lyrics? How's that go? Amy's always got my back. Everything we need, we are. How about that? Right now, we need a musician, and luckily, you are musicians. We've all got it. We've all got an instrument with us, right? I mean, our voices, our feet. We could make rhythm. We could get up and we could do a conga line, but Patty's not going to approve of that. I didn't start the conga line. Oh no, no, I did not. That's it's. I stood on the sign and laughed and took pictures. Is what I did. Why is it that as spiritual speakers we always seem to be looking for things that are already present? Have y'all noticed that in the world, that we look for what's already here, and buddy, that can be a little bit frustrating at times, because the truth is everything's already here. It is present. All right, and we are doing this series now that is focusing on Robert Brummett's book, Birthing a New Reality. And it's about evolutionary consciousness, the change in consciousness that we may be seeing, hopefully will see, that is showing up as we've focused on awakening. We got to wake up. Wake up. Don't fall back to sleep. There's talk of transformation through our deeper knowingness. right? Because Charles Fillmore used to write about race consciousness, race, the human race, that there is a field of awareness, of consciousness. And when I say that divine wisdom is available to us, if you spend enough time in the silence and the stillness and let all those filters and lenses that we look through, if we kind of let those fall to the side, we can know things, right? And I don't mean be aware of the knowledge that's available in the world. I mean that visceral knowingness is there and available to us. And today we're going to talk about remembering. Remembering. See, we have to underscore this idea that spiritual maturity begins when we stop outsourcing our authority. Right? You have to stop outsourcing the authority. The presence of the one is in you and in me. And in, the neighbor that makes us angry and the person that cuts us off in traffic. I shouldn't talk about that so much. When I went to visit Northern Virginia last week, I manifested that a lot in my life. But, the speed limit is 70 and everybody's going 80 except me. I'm only going 75, and so I was a slow poke. If you know, you know. Like, that's kind of that knowingness that it gets kind of crazy in busy, bigger places. And I can't outsource my authority about they're going to make me wreck. No, I've got to pay attention, right? I am in charge of my experience and my actions. And yet we are, in this playground planet Earth, especially here in our country, we are culturalized to look for validation outside of ourselves. Have you noticed that? We want approval from institutions, from our parents, from our teachers, from our ministers, from our friends, from our board. We seek outside validation. We want approval. We really want certainty, right? We want to know that, this is what's going to happen, right? We want to know what the outcomes are going to be, right? Who loves a surprise? I mean, surprises are right up there with conga lines, right? People don't like them, right? And, but we have outsourced the validation, and that's not to say that any of these things are bad or wrong. They are scaffolding, though, right? They are, supporting us as we learn the truth. So, what ends up happening, though, is we create a quiet dependency on that outside validation. And that robs us. It steals away our inner voice, our inner knowingness, and it keeps us, quite frankly, at a lower vibration. And at lower vibrations, well, we're attracting lower vibrations. And I know that sounds redundant, but it's true. And Brummett, in this next chapter, he talks about the fact that evolution requires releasing, renunciation, right? Releasing, burning bowl ceremony, releasing those things that once felt necessary, so that we can take ownership, that we can find within ourselves the validation, the love, the presence, the power. Because you are the light and the love and the power and the presence. You are already. You got to remember that. So, this is where we have to make sure that we're all on the same page, that we understand that we are fully human in expression, yes? We are fully human, and boy, can that be interesting at times in our full humanity and experiencing other people's full human presence. And then we also have to remember that we are fully divine in potential. Fully divine in potential. And so if we think that I am the power and the presence and the light and the love, that is about the ego and that which separates us from everyone, then we're getting in the weeds, because this is not about ego inflation. This is not about our humanness. It is about our divine potential is the light and the love and the power and the presence. And when I say potential, I don't mean that it might be there. I mean that you might live from that place, because it's there. There ain't nothing I'm from the mountains of Appalachia, and so the Appalachian comes out when I'm tired. There is nothing at all that you need to do in order to be the light and the love and the power and the presence. And there is nothing you can do that takes any of that away. It simply is. And that divine essence is already active in you. And so you have the potential to live from that truth, or the potential not to get mired down in the appearances of playground planet Earth. And so this shift that we are making is from the physical seeking of anything that we think is missing, the physical seeking in this world, to spiritual embodiment. Because if the love you seek you already are, then embody that love. If the wisdom is what you're seeking, then embody the wisdom that you are. If the beauty that is what you're seeking, embody the beauty that you are already, because nothing's missing in you spiritually. And so it's a minor tweak of the languaging that we use and talk within our heads, and it's shifting from what do I need to what is ready to express through me. What is ready to express through me? And if that thought shows up, I need, then that means that thing, that quality is ready to birth through you into this world. Now, when we consider some of the faith traditions that we may have come from, if you weren't joyously raised in unity, and some people were, I was not. But this is the same theology that's rooted in you have to accept Jesus as your personal Lord and Savior, right? The Christ is not something you acquire. The Christ, I'm going to say that again. The Christ is not something that we acquire. It is something that we allow to mature within us in consciousness. It is something that we allow to mature in us spiritually, so that our life here on Playground Planet Earth is much more loving. And that does not mean without conflict. Now, the rub in this is that we are still we're still doing this experiment in Playground Planet Earth, right? Because we're walking around in our fancy spacesuits, trying to learn how to love each other, learn how to allow and encourage the awakening and the maturation of the Christ in us, and we're still attached to the appearances of the world. And the appearances of the world are like shadow puppets. I remember you making those. Y'all can do it, right? Look. Yeah, Scott's has a little bunny bouncing around. Yeah, the shadow puppets, because is that, you make a little shadow puppet rabbit that's hopping along the wall. Is that really a rabbit? No, it's an illusion of a rabbit. And so we've got all these shadows, right? The shadow that has no substance on its own. It only exists because something real is creating it. And when we look at this spiritually and we look inward, we see that the shadows that are clouding our ability to see what's real, that which is really love, are things like fear and doubt and lack, dependency, validation from out there, a fear that you might not like me, you might not love me, you might think I look fat. Right? And none of those are the truth of who we are. Because who we are is the light and the love and the power and the presence showing up at the individualized point of view. Learning how to mature the Christ of your being and live from that truth. And here is when you turn and face the light, the shadows disappear. When you turn and face the light, the shadows disappear. And I had this talk all laid out, and then some other stuff happened in the world, and so I have to talk about an additional layer of this that wasn't in my original talk, and so maybe it's good we don't have all the music so I can talk longer. Whew, you consent? Thank you, Scott. You may change your mind. Because the truth is that this turning towards the light is something that each one of us must do individually, but also we exist in this place where there is the collective consciousness, the race consciousness, as Fillmore dubbed it, the human race, and we all are also collectively invited to turn toward the light. And we are watching waves of public protest driven by fear, urgency, and moral certainty in the world today. And that is true of every point, of every side, in every polarity. There is a fear, and there is an urgency, and there is a moral certainty showing up that is dividing people. And these are projections. The same way we can project into our inner world the lack and the limitation and the fears that show up and a dependence on the external authority, we also can project onto other people. Are you aware of that? You ever had somebody project onto you? I feel great. This is a quote directly from Brummett's book. Although the term shadow usually implies a negative aspect for the psyche, for simplicity, I am using the term to include both the positive and negative aspects of self that are hidden from our view. We may be projecting a dark shadow or a bright shadow. In either case, we see a trait in someone else that we believe is not in ourselves. It appears to be all about them and not about me. You ever been in that? Whereas if they would just fill in the blank. Continue his quote. When we discover that we are projecting onto another person, it does not necessarily mean that they are devoid of the particular trait that we perceive. It may be that they do have the characteristic that we see so clearly, but so what? What is that to me? When we are projecting, we don't just perceive something, we create a story about what we are seeing, and typically it's a story where we are omniscient and pure, and the other person deserves eternal damnation. I've talked about, a business consultant that I once worked with that I found to be very condescending. That would not bother me if I couldn't sometimes be condescending. Right? I mean, Carol is shocked. Shocked that I could be condescending ever in my life. But see, when we see these things outside, what we're doing is we are projecting it onto other people, to other groups, to other institutions. And right now, there's projections are happening on both sides of a political spectrum. And this is not about politics. This is about our presence in the world. And one side is projecting chaos and threats and lawlessness. And the other side is projecting cruelty and injustice and oppression. And all of those characteristics live inside of us. And if you doubt that, go read your scriptures, because every one of those things shows up in our scripture. And we know that everyone that appears in the Hebrew scriptures and in the Christian scriptures represents a consciousness that we carry as we are learning to mature the Christ of our being. To live from that place where we are just love. And shadow work is a part of maturing the Christ of our being. And right now, this is a blanket statement. It's my therapist would be like, Todd, that's overreaching. That's there's a word for it. Judy can remind me what it is. I think just about everybody is projecting unintegrated fear. They're not pausing and looking at what are the fears that live in me. They're just projecting fear onto just about everybody that opposes their certainty and their omniscient goodness in the world. Right? They're outsourcing their inner work. And this is not about who's right. This is not about anybody being wrong. This is about how unconscious fear behaves when it's amplified by groups. Fear looks real. And like the shadow, it has no substance of its own. It exists because something within us has not yet been faced. Something. I'm checking in to make sure I'm supposed to say this. The actions and the behaviors that we are seeing in the world today are not new. And because in consciousness, we have said it is okay by not standing in opposition to it before now, it looks new. And that's true for both sides of the spectrum. The polarity and the tension. This is nothing new. And maybe now it's coming up again so it can be healed. In us as individuals and in us as a collective society. As a country and a continent that espouses to love God and to love life. So it's not about partisanship. It's about learning how to be the presence of love and hold the high watch while we do the work and invite other people to do the work so that we can all show up to be the presence of love and to create a world that works for all. So we as Brummett says, what we refuse to see internally, we will see externally. And so those things that are showing up the world external to you, pay attention when it feels like somebody has reached in and pushed that button that makes you go, "Gah!" Anybody do that? They've pushed in and hit that button. Pay attention because, there's something here for me to heal. And I can't outsource that to everybody else to fix. It's up to me. And simply, we cannot be the presence of love while insisting that someone else has to change first. Let me say that again. We cannot show up and be the presence of love while we are insisting that someone else does the changing first. And then to be clear, let's make sure that we understand that spiritual maturity does not mean disengagement, does not mean spiritual bypass. It means acting without needing an enemy. Love everyone. Everything we need, all the wisdom, all the compassion, all the presence, all the will, all the order, everything that we need is already present. We have to have a willingness to let it be shown through us. And so this coming week, as you move forth in this amazing playground, planet Earth, I invite you to contemplate this idea. Where are you still looking outside yourself for permission, for reassurance, for completion? Think about that. And then follow it up with this. What might become possible if I trusted what is already alive in me? What might become possible if I trusted, and I mean fully trusted, like embodied, like stood with it, solid feet in your faith, that this is already alive in me, and what might change in your life? Everything I need to live, to love, and to serve is already present. Everything that you need to live and to love and to serve is already present. And our daily word today was zeal. When truth is embodied, energy follows. When you stand in the capital T truth, not worldly facts that might change, right? Because we remember that at once upon a time, the fact was that the sun revolved around the earth and the earth was flat, right? Facts change. Truth is unchanging, absolute. And when we stand in the absoluteness of our knowingness, right? The knowingness, not the intellect, not the knowledge, the knowingness of truth, zeal will rise up in you, and you will spring forth with a mighty zeal to do what is yours to do. We are birthing a greater reality, and a greater reality unfolds when we stop searching and start living from who we already are. And we are the light, the love, the power, and the presence. Wherever you are, God is. And that's the truth. All is well in spirit. It's not always well here on planet Earth. It's not always well here on planet Earth. It is well in potential. But until we all, and I mean all 8 billion plus people walking around here in their very divine, sleekly designed spacesuits, live from a matured Christ consciousness, the presence of love in a world that works for all, then everything is well in the manifest world. But we've got work to do. Don't go back to sleep. And that, my friends, is what I was invited to share today. Thanks for listening. Well, let's all take a breath.